welcome to the TMT Stock Market Strategy video for Tuesday, April 5th. Well, we had a little bit of a push to the downside. Markets really were range bound pretty much most of the day, and then they kind of sold off a little bit and making lower lows and lower highs, but very, very tight. So what I mean by that is that the markets would push lower and then bounce right back up again. So if you're day trading, it was a little bit frustrating. Now this morning, we have some weakness, and it's quite frustrating to see that as well when you're day trading. You're down 17 and a half handles on the ES electronic session, and that means that there's a lot of hurry up and wait, so to speak, for today's trade. But we'll see what happens here. Very interesting developments that are occurring. I put out a video on gold and silver and the dollar over the weekend, saying that I'm looking for lower prices at least one more time. Too easy, guys. Too easy to get long gold and continue to get long gold without one more flush. Gold is up about $12 right now on a little bit of a risk trade, and of course the dollar being lower. I do suspect the dollar will hold a lot of these critical levels and start to move back higher again, putting selling pressure on gold and silver, and of course commodities across the board. Now, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the UUP here. Here's the UUP ETF, which is the dollar ETF. And you could see here that we're looking right at it, that here you got major support here. All right, and let me get that out of the way for you guys. All right, so you got major support here, you could see. Now, obviously, if it sells off and it stays and just kind of back tests and makes that lower high from this previous swing high and this swing high, then you have to change your analysis view a little bit on gold and possibly say that gold has already made a low. I don't think that has happened yet. I think something that we need to see develop is going to take a little bit of time. But again, I do like gold and silver. I like silver a lot. Silver hasn't really made much of a move like gold did. And of course, the gold miners at GDX, and I'll show that to you in a moment. I do think that that silver will actually, when the time does happen and starts to sell off, it's not going to sell off as hard as gold. And I think silver would actually make a little bit more bang for your buck as far as money-wise concerned, as far as the move. But I do like the gold and silver trade lower at the moment. You can see here, just showing these charts. I've showed them to you over the weekend. You can catch them on a YouTube video, TM Technicals. Over the weekend, if you guys haven't seen that yet. You can see the double top here. Actually, I like the, you see that neckline come in, and you can see that we just broke that neckline here. Now, obviously, we're down a little bit in equity, so we should be up in commodities because we have lower prices in the dollar, so that should revert back up again. But I do like the fact that we see some lower prices here and kind of base into that 13.5 area, and then start looking for, to start nibbling in and start looking to buy some gold, some silver too. You can see here, you got a really nice base, and if we can come down somewhere around and make that higher low from this previous low, then we should step back up again to the upside. All right, let's take a look at our indexes. Well, let's take a look at the GLD first. You can see here, I pointed out we had a nice little head and shoulders pattern here. This being the head, this is the left shoulder, this is your right shoulder. Your neckline is literally right here. Okay, so obviously, if this breaks, if this does break lower, we should see some lower prices and probably look to somewhere right up in this area here, about 108, even 110. Give it, and then see if we can kind of revert back up to the upside. But we do have a lot of big band of resistance here. You could see that the moving average, the momentum indicators are pointing lower. So to me, I do suspect lower prices. You will have days that the markets are gonna, the gold and silver trade is going to bounce because you do have that fear trade and again the influence on the dollar. But the overall picture to me looks like that we're going to get one more flush to the downside in GLD and GDX, the gold miners, and of course silver itself. And I explained that a little bit more in detail on the video over the weekend. All right, so let's go right into the indexes. You can see here we have a nice uptrend channel if you want, maybe a bearish rising wedge, if you will, and again it's only bearish if we break the lower trend line here. First area of support is going to be the 199.76, which coincides nicely with the 50-day moving average. You can see we're holding up pretty well, but guys, 8 weeks in a row straight up, it's unsustainable. 8 weeks straight up. We already got the crossover in the MACD. We're still looking for we're overbought here, about 70-ish in the RSI. I'm looking for some downside momentum, at least right to the 50 to first, and then we'll reevaluate. We'll put some downside targets some fib targets down here. Probably going to look at somewhere. I'm looking at is, if you look at our value zone, we're right around 195-ish. We got some good demand down here. So right around 195 I'm looking for. But again, once we get some downside momentum, I'll put some downside targets on the on some of these indexes, okay? Transports, again, our leader. And you can see here we had a real nice uptrend channel, okay? Real nice uptrend channel. And now we're just holding at 200. If we start to lose it, your next step will be that 50. It'll be that 136.16. But remember, look what's happening here. Let me erase all of this. We're looking at, you could even call this, if you want, an M pattern, an M top, making that right side lower than the main. So you could see that right here clearly, an M formation, neckline being at 200. Okay, you could see that nicely. And if that does break, we got the 220, got a little confluence area of support of the 140.08. But look for that downside pressure at 136. I think that's going to be the next target. And then again, if the transports lose this area of support, then you'll see the market start to sell off too as well. And again, I'm looking for a market sell-off. I've been saying that as well. I'm looking for a push lower. And then I started doing some seasonality work on election year, and we get some weakness going into April, May. And then, as you know, we really get weakness from really May to October. We have a volatile summer. So that should really come into play, really good for the day traders, because volatility is what we're looking for, what we need. And we are getting an expansion of volatility, not as much as I would have liked to see, but we're starting to really pick up, which is going to create some big opportunity here. All right, now let's take a look at the Russell 2000. Good gauge of risk, right, as we all know. And as you can see here, we're right into this area, big area of resistance. You could see that here. You know, I've been pointing this out. A lot of longs that got caught here in December, October, November, December of 2015. Okay, they're stuck here. Now they're getting an area where they might be flat or slightly down, and then you have your longs that are down here. What's going to happen, guys? They're going to sell into this. That's just normal emotional trading for retail. They will sell into this to get me whole. And of course, the long buyers that down here, they're going to want to get out, being up 8 weeks straight up in a row. They're going to look to get out. So that's just that's my analysis work. Make sure it agrees with your analysis. And you can see lastly here is the Qs. Again, coming into a big area of support, resistance. You can see that here, big band. Look at your volume profile zones. And again, a lot of traders are being long, stuck up in here, are going to look to sell into this area for a pullback. Okay, now we don't know how deep the pullback will be, if it is a pullback or a full-fledged correction. No one knows. I'm looking for a pullback, probably somewhere half of this big move, and then start to revert back up again. But again, it's too early to tell. Let's see what happens in the coming weeks. But I am looking for weakness in equities, and I also am looking for weakness in the metals at least one more time. Hope it helps everybody. Talk to you soon. Have a great day, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.